Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is Go Again, a fabulous video cast covering the trading card game Flesh and Blood. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando.
Hello Fab folks, welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. This week I'm joined again by Dane from the Outcast Haven, and I'm going to be asking him about new player pipelines for Flesh and Blood. All right, folks, welcome back. Thanks for joining us again this week. Dane's back with us. How's it going, my man?
Good. It's going really well.
How's everything going in Fab in the last week since we talked last?
Yeah, I've actually had a little bit of like an up and down week with Fab. So I've played 2 more rounds of the Cancer Society of New Zealand charity drive put on by Matt and Nick. And I've played 2 more rounds of that and have gone 1-1 in those 2 rounds. I played, my most recent was a Rhinar player, and against my better judgment, I'm playing Prism. I've been reading that Prism struggles into Rhinar with like the Phantasm build. And I knew from previous testing that my Aura build had fairly good success against Bravo and Rhinar, but I had recently tweaked, because we don't have to submit deck lists, so I'd recently tweaked my Prism list to include a lot more non-Phantasm attacks to take advantage of, like, Rouse the Ancients. I'm running Zealous Beltings. I pared that down a little bit to just yellows now, but I like the Zealous Belting to lead the turn in with something that they can't pop, and they either need to let hit, which can be a pummel target, or, they block it and then opens up the Phantasm hit next. But I was running more of that, and I was like, I wonder if this plays a little better into the Rhinar matchup, and it didn't. I got my butt handed to me. But Axel, I don't know if you're watching here, but he is one of our subscribers on our channel, Outcast Haven. Check us out. And he and I were playing, and he was nice enough to let us play an extra game too, because I told him, I was like, I'm testing stuff right now, trying to figure out what I like and don't like. And I ran my Aura build into it, because I have the Aura build. Basically, it's in my 80, so I can side in and out of like how much Aura I want to run, and that went really well. So it was a moral victory, if not a recorded victory. So that has been my week so far in Fab.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, that was going to be my next question actually. There, so you can edit your deck list in between.
Yep.
But not
after this.
But not your player, or excuse me, not your hero, or
no, you can change everything.
Oh,
yeah, there's a dude that Jason played that literally was rolling dice to see which deck he was playing. So, but it's after round 4. Yeah, it was pretty funny. After round 4, now we have to submit deck lists for the rest of it. So,
I see.
Yep. So deck lists are now locked in for going forward.
Yeah, I like the look of that tourney, because they're giving people, I think, it's like 2 days to get the round done or something like that, right? Yeah.
Yep, worldwide. So over the weekend, the calling weekend, they gave actually 96 hours, because so many people were playing in that were playing in the tournament too, that they allotted a little more time. But it's typically 48 hours from the time that the round's announced and the pairings to like get together with them. My first pairing was against a dude in Australia. Second was West Coast. Third has been East Coast. So it's just a matter of timing that out and making time. Like my first round, I played at like 5:30 a.m. to like match his evening. So it's all fun, and it's fun playing people from around the world too, seeing different decks outside your locals.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, so what I brought Dane on today to talk about was he has a lot of experience playing. We both have tons of experience in CCGs. That's how we know each other, right? That's why we're here.
Right.
but he has experience in games that I don't, and he has some experience in like Dragon Ball Super and some of the more of those mainstream games. Whereas a lot of my especially recent background is in games that are more amenable to bringing in new players. And when I say that, I don't mean just hey, Fab took another Magic player, look, we have a new Fab player. Because yes, they're new, but more what I'm looking at is, and more of the question I have for him tonight is, does Fab have a pipeline to bringing in new players to gaming, or to card gaming, I guess? Or is Fab going to be largely dependent upon cannibalizing players from other games? So hopefully that question makes sense not just to you, but to also the viewers. So what are your initial takes on that, like based on what you've seen in other stuff? What are your thoughts?
So generally speaking, I think that pipeline, the true new player pipeline, not cannibalizing anything, is a lot smaller right now for Fab, just because honestly of it's where it's marketed. Like you've got like Magic has a very strong new player pipeline. Pokemon has a very strong new player pipeline, just based on where they retail their product at, right? Like you're gonna get a lot more people walking by. Like the first pack I ever bought of Magic was on a whim at Target in 2012, and I just got super. I bought it and was like, I'm gonna try this because I saw somebody playing it, and like if I wanted to walk past it, and like that was my in, right? Was because it was a retailer I was at anyways. So Fab not having that, I think hinders that pipeline a little bit. But I've met and know plenty of like fresh TCG players that Fab is their first experience. If not their first experience, then the experience that brought them back into playing a card game locally since like their childhood or since they were in college or whatever it may be. So I don't think that it relies solely on cannibalizing, but I do think that's a large portion of it. And I think that it's worth noting that it's a valid portion of it. Like that's seeing a game that is good, like a clean, well-constructed, sound game that appeals to you because you were in the store anyways. I don't see the negative of cannibalizing, and cannibalizing has like a kind of a more negative connotation than I like to use, just because you're not necessarily dropping off the other game. Like many people play more than one game, so I think that because I don't know what you want to call it, but like the new player in the sense that they're new to all TCGs or CCGs, I think that's pretty small right now for Fab, or smaller than they would like it to be. But they're also a brand new company, so that's to be expected.
Sure. Yeah, and you have a fair point on cannibalization, because I'm not necessarily viewing cannibalization as a negative thing either. Just in that, if and then before we, I do want to have a disclaimer. We have a guy in our DC team one of our DC team members. This is the first card game he's ever played as well, right? So I'm not saying that no one in Fab has never played TCG. That was what I came across. I know not to you, but to the viewers out there, if that's what I came across as, that wasn't what I meant. But I'm talking like at in a in mass macro scale. Is Fab going to be getting 13-year-olds who would have played Pokemon, or are we going to be looking at 25-year-olds who are coming over from other games? Or so that was more the question.
A lot more that coming from other games, and a lot more in that age group, that probably that 20 to 35-year-old age bracket of people that have played other games that find and like this game. That's going to be a huge market source for them.
Okay. So my next part of this is, as I start to think about, everybody's been thinking about how to go to your LGS, run demos, how to bring in people, right?
Yep.
The next part of it that I think Fab has a challenge on, probably its biggest challenge, is that Fab is hard, right? It's very hard. My wife, the first card game she ever played was Star Wars Destiny, and she picked it up and she loved it. And we tried to play Flesh and Blood, and she just didn't like it. There was too much going on, and it just wasn't her jam, which is fine, right? Perfectly fine, right? So I'm curious how you think, or if you think Fab has a way that they can essentially, Magic's tried various things over the years, basically I think it was called Portal. I mean, dating myself there, but it was basically like a dumbed down Magic.
Yeah, you are.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, could Fab have something similar to that? Or, is Fab just, because I don't think the complexity of Fab's going away, right? It's just going to
I don't
get
think
more. So hopefully that question kind of makes sense. Like, do you see there being a intro level? I don't know.
I think that Fab inherently is a more complex chess-like game. But from what I've found teaching new players is that it's pretty straightforward to teach the base mechanics too. There's a lot going on, and there are a lot of additional rules. But for the most part, they're spelled out on the cards. There's not a whole lot of like gotcha rules in Fab, which I think is great. But there is some additional complexity to learning when to do different things that doesn't exist in like Magic as much, right? But I liken it a lot to chess in a lot of ways, where the pieces all move differently, or like it's not checkers, right? Like you're not going to just be able to sit down and immediately start pinging around, and then the easy to learn, hard to master piece comes in, right? But I don't think that it's as hard at our level, right? Not to say that it's to the moon, but like at our play level, there's a lot to it, and it can be very complex. And knowing how to like wring every bit of benefit out of all of your plays and sequence them all properly, like there's a lot to that. But I don't think that's what new players are really concerned with. They want the experience of the game, and I think that the base experience is enjoyable. Like the 4 cards to hand every turn, understanding that those are going to be the resource for blocking and attacking. Like as long as your deck isn't too complex, which I think that the way that they built the Blitz decks and the way that the Iris starter decks are created, I think that that's all pretty straightforward, where okay, these are your 4 cards, block or save them for attacking. And then after a couple games, they start to feel that rhythm, like with any game. I think that as you get into it, you start to realize that it does have chess-like interactions where, yeah, it takes a lot to be a grandmaster, right? Like it takes a lot to get to that point because it's so deep. But it doesn't mean chess isn't fun playing at the kitchen table. So I think that I'm not as concerned. I think that my moral of my perspective is that I'm not too concerned with the complexity of the game as we see it, because teaching people seems to be fairly straightforward. And even like new people, I've taught my brother, who was not really into like a ton of CCGs or TCGs. He played in passing like Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff when we were in high school. I drug him along to play with me. But like it's fairly easy to pick up. It's very difficult to like teach someone these are the timing windows, and this is why you need to let this resolve before doing this. Like that stuff complicated. I give you that. But teaching him the game, he had fun with it. So
yeah. Well, the basic rules. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying the basic rules are hard. It's the I guess it's the taking the step up is a big step, if that makes sense, right? Taking the step up to playing the game is a big step.
I will totally give you that the first dive into I want to play this and start doing well locally, from like taking that step from I played my intro games and I bought some starter decks and a couple packs into I want to do well at locals. That's a deep dive. That is a significant leap. But I think that I like to think, I don't know for sure, I don't have any numbers to back this up, but I like to think that the experience of playing the game, just general experience of playing the game, is good enough that people will see the benefit or see the fruits of their labor if they were to put that effort in. So it might lose people, right? To be fair, it might lose people that are like, wow, like I can't just take this to my locals and not just get crushed without putting time and thought into my deck. But so that's a fair point. I'll absolutely give you that. Yeah. But I think that it's still good for. I haven't seen anybody drop off yet. and maybe that's just like our location here and like our TCG community. But the people that I've seen kind of come in, like there's been a couple new people that have just come in and been like, they play board games and they saw us playing and they're like, oh, that looks like, like a fantasy world. Like, what game is it? And they pick up a deck and we play and they're still there. So I don't know. Well, we'll see. Time will tell. But yeah. I got high hopes.
No, I mean, well, I do too, and I mean, I think that's why I'm asking the question. If I'm not sitting here and saying that Fab has no future. That's, I mean, otherwise we wouldn't be here, right?
No,
so, yeah, I think from my position, that part of the reason I'm asking is from a cannibalization or whatever we want to correctly call that to make it not sound like a negative thing.
You can just call it cannibalization. That's fine.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of what brings people from other games is. Fab has a lot of things going for it in that it has a lot of good things that are bad in other games. Like getting mana screwed is not something that happens in this game, right? And you can take a million other examples from other games and apply it to Fab. How all games are close. You never really are completely out. Well, not all games, but most games are close. You're never really completely out, right?
Yep.
And I think that appeals to a lot of things because of people having PTSD from other games.
That's a good point. I like that because then you ask the question, what about the people that don't have the bad experiences already that see how much better this is? So that's a good point too. I think it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, because that's what we hear all the time is, or it's what I hear frequently is, I didn't like this about X, and Fab doesn't have that problem or whatever it may be. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think that there's going to be, and it is a different market, I think, not altogether from Magic, but altogether from Pokemon for like when they suck people in. Because a lot of kids do. Like, the only reason I even own Pokemon cards is like nostalgia and because my kid loves playing Pokemon, so I play with them. So I think that there's that piece of it that Fab isn't going to get that part of the market.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if they need it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone's debating, the life cycle of the game. So maybe I should go back in context. One of the questions I was asked I did a, ask me anything for my 2K sub celebration. And one of the questions was, do you think Fab has what it takes to become, the next big game? And I mean, that's paraphrasing. And I was like, no, it's never going to beat Magic, but I do think it can, get into the top 4 or whatever you want to say. Right. But would it ever beat Pokemon or something else? Part of my answer was I don't think it can beat them as long as it relies on getting new players from there, right? Because it's basically like if the model is that these other games bring in people, the people get sick of playing those other games, and then they come to Fab, that's not how you get ahead. It's just how you stay even, right? So that's kind of my longer term, not just vision, but kind of what I'm trying to figure out is, how do we, because it's part of building our communities, right? Understanding how to get new players in is part of building our communities.
Yeah, absolutely.
In all forms.
And I think that it's always a weird question to see asked or proposed, right? Like, is it, is Fab going to take over? Is it going to break top 3? Who's it going to beat out? And it's like, I don't know that that's Fab's goal in the first place. Like, they want to be successful and they want to like do as well as they can and grow as much as they can, I'm sure. But I mean, Pokemon is like, it either is or is one of like the largest IPs in the world, like hands down across all like I mean, they've got tons of like how does Fab compete with? They're gonna like have a Saturday morning cartoon for Fab? Like, that just isn't like, there's too much publicity for Pokemon, I think, to even, that's not even an option. Magic, I think, is just
too big to fail. Too big to fail.
Yeah, I go back and forth so much on like Magic and where it's at, and just constantly being surprised by numbers for them. And I guess they're humming along. They're doing what they want to do. But I mean, maybe Fab does cannibalize a lot of the older Magic players. Maybe Magic becomes like one of the what was the term? Sorry. What was the term that you were using earlier? The
Pipeline
the
or
path pipeline. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Like maybe Magic becomes like a pipeline for Fab. Like maybe you play Magic when you're younger and you get older, and all of a sudden you've got more time in your 20s, and you want to commit a little more to a game that's a little more sound, and you see the problems with Magic, and Fab's there, and that's kind of what people transition over to or make it their second game or their competitive game or whatever it may be. I don't know, but I don't think that that's a goal to beat out. I don't see it happening, but I could totally be wrong, and that would be great. Just not too fast. Don't.
No, well, I think you have a good point. And I think when they, I think asking that question isn't necessarily like Fab's going to be the best. I think it's more like, just a thought exercise, right? So,
Yeah.
Because it's relevant. So, or maybe it's not
Absolutely.
relevant, but it at least gets you down that path.
I think it's relevant. I think it's always important to ask like what exists in the market space and what would it take, even just in theory, to reach a certain point into what market share is available, what market share can be cannibalized, like that type of questioning and evaluation analysis, whatever you want to say, like that. I think there's a lot of value in that, and it's really I like it. I like doing that type of thing and like thinking through. Like I'll sit down and I'll get the question from my fiance or whatever, like what are you thinking about? And it's like, you really don't want me to dive into that right now because that's going to be a good hour of your life you're not going to get back. So I like doing that type of analysis though, even if I'm totally wrong and it's just in my own head. I still like to think through it because it's fun.
Oh, I like it. So I think the last thing then for your experience in these other games, one of the obvious barriers to entry in Flesh and Blood is, and this is not a unique Flesh and Blood problem, so just calm your jets, everybody, right? It's expensive. TCGs are expensive, right?
Hold on, I gotta go get my pitchfork quick. 1 second.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying Fab is more,
Yeah.
I mean, Fab is more expensive than other games out there, but it's also cheaper than other games out there, right? So, yeah. So how have you dealt with bringing new people in, either for Fab or for other games in your experience? How have you basically navigated that, or has it been a self-solving problem?
I think it's kind of been self-solving, and I already think the market is reflecting more reasonable prices first edition. Like you can go on right now and buy singles for first edition that are priced up, but not crazy. Like it's not like you're buying like Welcome to Wrathe first edition cards right now, and even those have gone down in price. So I think that the market is balancing out, and there's been the freak out of like, I don't remember if it was actually on my video with you last time we spoke or if it was something that we had recorded on our channel, but I remember seeing someone post on Facebook about how, oh, these are the death knells of Fab. Like, we're seeing it. Prices are crashing. Like, the bubble bursts. And I'm just like, yeah, that's dumb. That's a dumb opinion. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, that's very obviously not the case. People are just being able to live their life again, right? So there's gonna be less. There is less capital to funnel towards just TCGs to collect and put on your, because you're in your house all day anyways, so you can't just put them on your shelf and look at them. Like, people are going out. Like, I'm spending less money on CCGs now. Plot twist, everybody, in case you were wondering, because I can go out to dinners and I can, take trips, and that's totally fine with me.
Sounds like you need to
dropping.
Prioritize some decisions there, Dane. But
I know.
Yeah.
As I literally opened 2 cases of Unlimited and a case of First Edition. I just opened 2 cases of Unlimited today. So if you need stuff, let me know. But
yeah, I get mine tomorrow. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that would be good. So it's not the end of the world. I think that these prices aren't dropping. They are dropping. They're not plummeting. They're just recentering on like what. If you remember back, if you guys can even think back to what TCGs and CCGs look like prior to COVID, this is fine. We're going to be fine. It's doing well.
But Dane, I'm only making 3x profit instead of 7x profit. This is the end of Fab.
It is.
Yeah.
My return on investment has plummeted. How could this game possibly survive?
Yep.
I ignore those. I peel myself away from those comments. I'm like, I do that thing where you type stuff up and then you're like, wow, this is super not worth getting into this with this faceless internet person because it's just gonna take time away from my day that I don't need to waste here. And I just delete it all and move on with my day.
Yeah, fair enough. I actually am going to say one thing, and I do think that this is also kind of solving itself as the card pool expands. But one of the things that we ran into when we were first starting with Fab was that if you don't have access to the Majestics and at that time the Supers, your games would be, many of the games would kind of peter out to that end state where somebody had to drop their hand to block like 8 turns in a row, right? Mm-hmm. And that definitely does happen less when you have access. I mean, when your card, you look at like an E-Strike versus a Scar for a Scar, I realize those two particularly serve different functions. But right, if you look at a 0-3 versus a 0-5 that's a Majestic, it changes that, right? So I do think I do think Fab has a slight challenge there versus other games because from just a point of interest, and again, maybe that's solved because the game itself plays different, is what I'm saying, right? The game itself plays different once you have access to the bigger stuff, and you could say that same argument for Magic, but I don't think it's as exacerbated in Magic, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna counterpoint you here a little bit.
Okay.
Actually,
yeah, that's why you're here.
If you'll allow me, so I actually think that this is a good example of something that Fab does a lot better. Is that the price point of cards and the availability of cards has less of an effect on how games end up playing out in Fab than in Magic. Because in Magic, you need cards for certain combos. To even run certain decks, you need to have X, Y, and Z. And those can be priced very highly, and that can keep you off of playing that deck because you don't have $180 to spend on this playset of cards that you need for this combo in order to run this deck. So that deck's not even an option. Mm-hmm. I am very confident that if you put like one of the top, like Aaron or Jacob or Matt, like the top 3 ELO leaderboard guys, and gave them a common and rare deck and put them against someone at like even our level running like Majestics, I bet that they give us a run for our money, if not possibly win. And I think that end game state is more. We saw a lot of that when we first started playing. The end game state that you're talking about, where you're pillow fighting basically until someone dies or runs out of deck. I think that is more a testament to just a young player pool, or a player pool that is not as experienced and knows how to set up what to save for late game because they need that dominate to push through damage that can't be blocked by dropping hand. Like being able to set that up, that's stuff that you learn as you learn how to play. And I think that it's really simple to pick up because if you are teaching a new player and they see you do that, and then they go home and play with a friend or a sibling or something, and they just keep playing their game and they do that pillow fight thing, they're like, oh, but Andrew used dominate to win in this circumstance, so maybe if I do that. And like that's something that gets picked up on pretty quickly. And I think that as a player pool advances and learns and grows and starts expanding, that stuff is going to spread like wildfire, and that's going to be less of an issue. So I think that the card availability is actually less of an issue in Fab than in other games because it's less reliant on those things, if that makes sense.
No, it totally does. I mean, we've done plenty of budget stuff, budget deck lists on this channel. One of the favorite ones for budget is Bravo, actually. You can do a pretty legit hammer build.
You can do a legit, yeah.
But, you throw a Crippling Crush in there, and it does change things. But,
yeah.
I mean,
as you get them.
In your comparison state, I mean, what's the new Magic card with the birds that lets you take like an extra turn or whatever? Like, yeah, that right. Those are
dude, I'm so far. I'm so far out of Magic at this point. Like, I haven't even looked at a set in years. Years.
I mean, that was the only one I could think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But, no, I mean, you have a good. Yeah, that's why you're here. So, well, hopefully everybody understands. The purpose of tonight wasn't poking holes in Fab's plan or anything like that. It's actually exploring and trying to learn from. I'm just trying to learn and trying to explore different angles to how we can grow my locals and beyond.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, Dane, why don't you tell the good people who you are, where they can find you for your other stuff, your other day job, and
I'm
kind of who you are.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. If anyone is hiring, I'm always open to. No, I'm on Outcast Haven. No apostrophe, no space, all lowercase. If you do YouTube/Outcast Haven, or we're also on Twitch and Facebook/Outcast Haven. You can find us, and we do a lot of meta talk. Recently, we've been doing a lot of complaining. No, yeah, we've been fine, but we're over Ira and Blitz, and we want to CCC. So we've been hyping up our CC gameplay, and we've been playing a lot of CC on our Tuesday night live streams and talking a lot about that meta. But I actually played a Blitz game in last Tuesday night live stream and got my butt kicked by Kano. Plot twist, something new and different.
Yeah.
So having lots of fun playing games, and we don't do as much of like the market talk. We don't. I like having these conversations with you because I get a little bit more of like the outside the gameplay, the opportunity to chat outside of gameplay and what's happening. So I always really appreciate sitting down with you. But yeah, you can find us YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Love to have you guys join us over there in the comment sections, because we like to interact and engage anyone who's interested in listening to us. Because if you put up with us, then you deserve some sort of pat on the back or conversation.
Well, and you guys are growing like crazy, and you deserve it. You guys have a really good synergy over there. You guys are really good people, and I enjoy it. So, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Andrew enjoys it.
That's right.
Put it in the description.
That's right. So, all right. Well, as I just mentioned, I'm headed to my LGS Gungai tomorrow to get my unlimited case, assuming that UPS truck doesn't break down or something. But headed there. So don't forget, everyone, you can do the same code Commando10 at checkout for 10% off your purchase. Again, I don't see anything from that, just helping my LGS, and they're kicking it back to viewers who go there. And then hopefully once Unlimited comes in, the singles will start hitting. You can go check out my buddy at Fab Foundry. If you do head over there, you can use my discount, or you can use my code below, the link below, and he gives me a little tip on that when you make a purchase, so I can buy some more of those singles that I need, like those Beacon of Victories that I'm going to be hunting for tomorrow. So, all right, well, you got anything else to plug, or should we just call it a day?
No, I guess. Yeah, I guess the one last thing is that me and Jason are both competing in the Cancer Society in New Zealand charity drive, and we are kind of just sporadically going live whenever, because it is kind of hard to sync up schedules with people all around the world. So we do kind of randomly pop live. So if you do want to catch us when we do that, hit that bell, because we've been getting a decent amount, but it's been like 7 to 14 people popping on. So just trying to put the word out about that a little more, that hitting the bell actually gets you something on our channel, because if you can join us. Appreciate it.
Good advice. When your bell goes off, go take a bathroom break. Be sitting in the stall for 30 minutes watching Fab game. No.
30 minutes for Classic Constructed? That's crazy, Andrew. Games aren't that fast.
They take an hour and a half.
All of them.
All right, my man. Well, thank you again for joining. We're going to have you on in the future. I don't have another topic yet, but we'll figure something out as stuff goes on. Yeah. So thank you, everyone, for popping in. Thank you, Dane. If nothing else, folks, go Commando.
Go Commando.